All right, back with another tier rankings list. This is after week 4, kind of. There's still the Monday night games, but after most of week 4. I like getting these videos out early. I think it's more fun on Monday morning, so let's talk about it. You know how these tier lists work if you haven't seen one of these yet. I mean, there's 5 tiers: Super Bowl contenders, playoffs for sure, still good, scrappy, and then bad. For the Titans, I believe I put them in scrappy last week. I might have put them in bad. I don't quite remember. But Dolphins I put in bad due to their quarterback situation. So we'll get more information on these two teams later on today. But for now, that's where I'll put them. The Jets are, I started to see some of them in Super Bowl contenders. Then they got killed by the 49ers and said, okay, can't put them in there. Playoffs for sure. That's kind of where I kept them and assumed they would be for a while, given the fact that they had a really easy schedule. They let this one slip away. I'm still going to put them in playoffs for sure. And maybe that's me being too optimistic. I think while, yes, there are a lot of issues, a lot of growing pains with this team early on, that's kind of to be expected. This was a really bad weather game. They still let this game slip away from them. There's no denying it. This was a bad loss by the Jets. But Denver has a good defense, and we'll get to them in a second. But yeah, that's kind of how I view that. We then have the Bengals, who, man, I really don't love this defense at all. I mean, it's part of why I predicted them to miss the playoffs at the beginning of the season, because I just wasn't crazy about this defense. I thought it'd be better than this, though. Burrow's playing great. Burrow's a really good quarterback. Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both being in the lineup really helps this offense. They have a great offense. I think they're in the still good tier, but they have to figure something out defensively. They do. The Browns are bad. I mean, it just did. They have some good defensive players, but even the defense isn't playing as elite as it was playing last season, and they're just getting nothing offensively. I mean, they're not going to make the quarterback shift, so this offense is just kind of struggling, and we can blame Watson all we want, and, he certainly is worthy of some of this blame, but the team around him isn't doing much better offensively. This is, again, the offensive line, you have injuries, it is what it is, but they're still not getting guys open consistently. Not a good football team right now. Next up is the Jacksonville Jaguars with, another disappointing loss. I mean, you're 0-4. You kind of have to be in the bad tier, right? Or can I still put you in scrappy? Because I do think their defense has shown some real signs of life. I think while Lawrence has been inconsistent, he has had some good moments as well in the season. But I don't know. I think I have to put you in bad. You're 0-4. I mean, you got to win a game at the very least to get into scrappy tier, I think. I don't know. I mean, listen, there could be a 0-4 team I would still put in a higher tier. I just think that some of these losses, like the Bills' loss, have been really bad as well. Good quality loss here, but you're still losing football games. So, yeah. Lions, I'm still putting in Super Bowl contenders. They play tonight as well. They play Seattle, so could get some more, more of a sample size on that. That would be a game that you want to see them win. But, listen, I know that they played the Rams maybe a little closer than they should have. They played the Cardinals maybe a little closer than they should have, and they lost to Tampa Bay. But, I'm buying into the ceiling of this team. As long as Jared Goff gets going again like he did last year, I'm buying into the ceiling of this team. Speaking of buying into the ceiling of a team, the Minnesota Vikings, who I said last week on this show that if the Vikings won, I would put them in Super Bowl contenders. But let's still just play this out, which it was a dumb thing for me to say, because what if they won due to 3 blocked punt touchdowns? Then I still probably wouldn't put them in, but then I would have to contractually. So that's a bad idea. But it's 4 games now. We have a decent sample size. This is working. And I kind of made the comparison offensively to a Brock Purdy with the 49ers thing of I don't know if this is because of the quarterback, but the quarterback is a part of this, and it's working so well. Kind of who cares? They have really good tackles. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is a superstar, but Jordan Addison's making some plays. They're going to get TJ Hawkinson back. This offense is playing great. They cover so well defensively. They're, obviously Brian Flores, one of the best defensive coordinators, in the league right now. Yes, I am putting them in Super Bowl contenders because that's how they're playing right now. And maybe they will have a bad game where they fall back down to earth and they'll get dropped out of this tier. But you know what? through 4 games, we've seen them play like Super Bowl contenders. That's enough for me. Let's put them in the Super Bowl contenders. There you go with the Minnesota Vikings. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have had 3 great weeks this start the season and 1 horrible one against Denver. I dropped them down to still good, but they feel like a playoff team to me. They do. I'm going to put them in playoffs for sure. That feels right. I mean, this is a team that, had a really great day against the Eagles. And some of that was the Eagles self-inflicting their own damage, for sure. But there was also a lot of really good stuff here from Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield is legitimately playing really good football right now. I mean, that game against the Eagles, I thought he was great in making some real key plays in big spots. Obviously, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are very good. They're hopefully going to get healthier. Tampa Bay is. They're already starting to get healthier under defensive line, and that mattered in a game against the Eagles when they didn't have Lane Johnson. So they feel like a playoff team. What's the ceiling on this team? That's to be determined. But right now, just for me, they feel like a playoff caliber team. The 49ers, I'm going to put in Super Bowl contenders as well. So 3 NFC teams in the Super Bowl contenders tier right now. The Niners have had a couple bad weeks. They kind of blew a game against the Rams. They got crushed by the Vikings, who are also in this tier. But I still am buying in. Again, I'm buying into the ceiling of this team. We've seen what this team can do over the past handful of years, even last year going to overtime in the Super Bowl. And, while I think there is a bit of turmoil, I still want to see Brandon Ayuk get going again. There's all that stuff, which is fair to say. They're a really good football team. The Atlanta Falcons, what a weird team to figure out, right? Because this is a football team that has played 4 games. They've kind of just pulled a win off out of nowhere in 2 of those games where, they're 2 wins. The Eagles game, which was a kind of a miracle finish, and this one where they got 14 points without, not on offense. They got a blocked or a muffed punt touchdown, and then they got a weird screen pass that bounced 20 yards in the opposite direction that resulted in a pick 6 touchdown. Hey, those still count. Still got to make those plays, give them credit, all that stuff, or give the Saints blame for screwing up, however you want to phrase it. But still, kind of some miracle wins here, right? But then the weird thing is, you look at their 2 losses, their defense played great against Pittsburgh, wasn't quite good enough to get it done, but they showed some flashes in that game, and they really played the Chiefs tough, and, could have won that game. Again, a lot of teams play the Chiefs tough. The Chiefs have a tendency to pull those games out, but it's still an impressive performance for them. So I don't know exactly where I'm at with them right now. I think Kirk Cousins has to play better. And because of that, I'm putting them in the still good tier. I think they need better quarterback play than they're getting. I love this defense, especially the secondary. I think there's a lot of really good talent on this team. I still do like this receiving core, even if it's, maybe not quite lived up to the hype. It's still very good. I need to see a little bit more out of the quarterback. That's just kind of how I'm viewing it right now. So still good for now. Maybe it's a bit cool on them. You could argue playoffs for sure, but I think that feels fair for me. Next up is the Baltimore Ravens, who, had a kind of a tough start to the year where they lost to Kansas City in a very close game. Okay, whatever. That is what it is. But then kind of blowing a game against the Raiders. And even when they had their supposed get-right game against Dallas, running all over the place, Dallas has this great 4th quarter, and all of a sudden it gets interesting again. Still a good win, but, maybe not quite as dominant as we thought it was going to be through 3 quarters. So going into Buffalo, I was looking at the odds and saying, why are the Ravens favored to win this game? Well, because the odds makers know something I don't. They were awesome in this game. This running attack is legit. I mean, the way that they're rushing and even throwing to these running backs is working so well. Obviously, Lamar being a part of this. Their defense looked back, all the way back in this game, so maybe it took a little bit to get going. You got to figure, got new pieces. You got to figure out how to use them. I mean, yeah, maybe this is going to become a crowded tier right now, but they're Super Bowl contenders to me. They are. I mean, if they can do that, yes, they are legit threats in the AFC. We thought they would be in this tier at the beginning of the season. Took them a little bit to get back here, but yeah, that's where I have them. Next up, the Chicago Bears, who, dare I say, had a good performance from Caleb Williams. There's still some some Caleb Williams-isms that are happening here. He's still taking too many sacks. He's still overthrowing the deep ball too much. But, like, that was kind of it for the negatives. Like, he was pretty good other than that. And if this is what he's going to give you, he did make some really nice throws as well. Like, he was making the tough throws, which is one thing I wanted to see more of from him. Like, that, there's an over-the-middle throw against zone coverage that was really good. Now, I didn't love the way the Rams approached this game defensively, not blitzing him a lot, but still, this is something that I think was a very good performance. So I don't know if I can quite put them into still good tier just yet. I think scrappy feels fair, although they feel better than the Titans. This is the weird thing about these tier lists. Is sometimes, it's fair to say you're in the same tier, but one team is better than the other team. I feel that the Bears are better than the Titans, but for now, scrappy tier is where I'm going to have them. They're close to still good. Do this again next week. I can't get caught doing the same thing I did with the Vikings, but do this again next week. I'll probably put them into still good tier, although I will forget this next week. So we'll see how that goes. But the Dallas Cowboys, hey, you won a game, you beat the Giants, so you did that. But I still don't love this defense. Malik Neighbors was kind of the only guy that had to worry about with the Giants. I think Prescott's played well. I think there are good aspects of this Dallas team that can't really defend at all, and I don't love this running game, but I do like the passing attack. I don't think it's Prescott's fault, even though quarterbacks always get the blame. It's really more so like it's him and CeeDee Lamb trying to do it all. That can only get you so much here. So I'll put them in still good because I do like this enough of this offense to put them here. And if they get DaRon Bland back, like, say what you want about DaRon Bland, it does change this team, but for now, that's where I'm going to have them. Now, the Houston Texans, who, I think playoffs for sure. I think I would like to see them blow a team out, right? It feels like all these wins against not the best teams are just coming down to the wire in ways where they shouldn't. But you're winning football games, too. They did get crushed by Minnesota, but other than that, they're winning football games. I think C.J. Stroud's played very well this season. Nico Collins has played amazing this season. Still don't love some pieces on this offensive line, but, they're a team that feels like playoffs for sure. We'll see if they can climb up to the next tier. Can't quite put them there yet, though. The Colts are, I think I've probably been too low on the Colts for a bit. I'm going to put them in still good. Now, Joe Flacco came into this game, although they are going to put Richardson back next week, we assume. It hasn't officially been stated, but it seems like he said he would have even been able to go back into that game had it been necessary, but given how they're up by a lot, then they decided not to. Who knows how true that is, but that's at least it shows that he's not it's not a huge injury or anything like that. Maybe mildly concerning that he keeps getting banged up, but not even mildly concerning, very concerning if you're a Colts fan that he keeps getting banged up. Had a really good start to the season, a start to the game, Richardson did. But what I like about this Colts team is just how many good offensive weapons they have. And I know Jonathan Taylor got banged up, but you have Jonathan Taylor, you have Alec Pierce, you have Josh Downs, you have Michael Pittman, you have Adonai Mitchell. Like, there's just a lot of pieces that I really like, and the offensive line's good. Like, when you have that, you can win football games for sure, and we've seen them do it. Just last year with Gardner Minshew, right? The Rams next up on this list. What a disappointing. I feel like disappointing 4 weeks. I know that they have so many injuries. I think Kyle and I were joking about how it's like, oh yeah, you take away Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and their entire offensive line, all of a sudden they look worse. Like, they have a lot of pieces they're missing for sure, but some of those pieces they're still going to be missing next week, right? So they're in the scrappy tier for me. I don't love this defense. I didn't like the defensive game plan against Chicago, not blitzing Caleb Williams that often, and in my opinion, that was a mistake. Matthew Stafford's awesome, but he can't do it all every week. We've seen him try to do this in Detroit. He'll have 1 week where he somehow pulls a miracle win, but he can't do that week after week after week. You need some help at a certain point. Maybe that's just getting healthy. And listen, if they get healthy, this is a different football team. But as of right now, scrappy tier, I think, feels fair. The Chargers, another team on the long list of teams to almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs, but they weren't able to pull it off. This Chargers defense has legitimately just turned around after one season, which is kind of crazy how that can work with coaching. Of you have this team that looks like a horrible defensive team, a ton of personnel doesn't really change, and yet it looks just a world better. Who knew that actually trying to stop the run sometimes could help out your defense. Who would have thought? I thought Herbert played well in this one as well, but I do have to say, I don't think they've gotten elite quarterback play this season. I think they could use maybe a play or two more sometimes, but that's maybe a bit hot takey. I don't know. But, again, you nearly beat the Chiefs. I think still good, feels fair for the Chargers. I can't, put you too much higher just yet, but, great start to the season. The Raiders are next up on this list, and I don't know what to make of the Raiders. They're 2-2 as well. This is a team that has probably the worst loss of the season, getting crushed by the Panthers so far on their resume. They also have one of the most impressive wins, beating the Ravens. They now are able to defeat the Cleveland Browns, who, as I said, I don't think are a very good team. But the Raiders, they didn't just win this game. They won this game without Max Crosby or Devontae Adams. They're two superstar players on either side of the ball able to win. So this was an impressive win. It just was. And you look at their 2 wins, they're really impressive. 2 losses, not so great, which makes them a difficult team to kind of evaluate. I think Minshew's had his moments. I still don't know if I'm fully buying into a Minshew-led team, although, like I said, he has had his moments. Scrappy feels fair for now for the Raiders. I think it's possible they could climb a tier, but for now, that's where I'm going to keep them. The Washington football team, also known as the Washington Commanders. Listen, this defense isn't playing great this season, but it had a really good game. Only held this Cardinals team to only 14 points was it? And again, there was a lot of garbage time in there as well. They score 42 when Jaden Daniels is scoring on every possession. The defense doesn't have to be great. This feels like a playoff team. It really does. And maybe this is just being a bit hot takey of being a prisoner of the moment a little bit, but this offense is just rolling. I mean, they're plowing through everybody right now. This running game is fantastic. Daniels obviously has been amazing to start this season. I don't know. I'm buying into this Washington team. We'll see how well it goes. Chiefs. So the Chiefs are interesting. We'll talk about them. They're obviously going to be in Super Bowl contenders. If you're undefeated and the Chiefs, you're in Super Bowl contenders. But at the same time, they do feel more human, right? I think that's totally fair to say. They lost Rashee Rice for the season. That's a big blow, because I was kind of saying, hey, it doesn't matter that Travis Kelce's gotten off to the slow start because Rashee Rice has kind of taken his place. Now Rice is out. The good thing is Travis Kelce then got back to being Travis Kelce this game, so that certainly helps. They still have Xavier Worthy, although I think Rice does things that Xavier Worthy doesn't do, right? And Xavier Worthy does things that Rice doesn't do. But there's a hole in this offense now. Kelce can do some of that, but that hurts. I think that we'll see how much that matters against maybe some of the top teams. Granted, they've beaten some of the top teams already, so they're winning football games. Even if it's weird and ugly, they don't care as long as they're winning. The New Orleans Saints are next on this list. A weird team as well, right? Where they've kind of let 2 games slip away from them, and they were dominant in the other 2. The Eagles game, kind of both teams tried to let that one slip away from them. But as I said, you spot Atlanta 14 points. It's going to be a tough game to win. They still nearly pulled it off. But I still really like the Saints defense. I still think the Saints are a good team. So yeah, I mean, I think it's still good. It feels weird, but I think still good is kind of where I have to put them, because you have lost back-to-back games. That's not ideal. And I still think, the injuries to this offensive line now haven't helped. But, yeah, as a whole, you could talk me into playoffs for sure, but I think still good. Just if you're 500, again, I'm sure there's a 500 team. I think, the Jets are 500. I put them a tier above, but I think this feels fair with the Saints. Next up, the New York Football Giants, coming off of a loss to the Dallas Cowboys. This team really is Malik Neighbors. That really is kind of the way that they operate. There are other things I like. I do like this defensive line. I like Andrew Thomas, right? There are some good pieces to this roster, and even Daniel Jones. I think there's worse quarterbacks in the league than him. I don't know. I'm in between scrappy and bad, because there are things that I like about this team. There are also things I like about the Miami Dolphins and the Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars, despite putting them in the bad tier. But I don't know. I'll put you in scrappy for now. Maybe I'm being too nice to the Giants fans, but I'll stick with scrappy as of right now. Could easily fall down a tier, kind of in between those two. The Eagles are next up on this list, who okay, this might be a bit of a hot take as well. I still feel like they're a playoff team. And my reasoning is they're going to get A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith back. Like, we can sit here and say, oh, don't use injuries as an excuse. No, we should use injuries as an excuse. We should pay attention to that stuff. You're a different team when you're missing your 2 superstar receivers, and kind of your whole thing is that you have 2 really good receivers and not a lot else. Yes, they have Dallas Goedert and Saquon Barkley, but neither one of those are wide receivers, and that does change the playbook. As a defensive coordinator, you can just show blitz, and now all of a sudden Barkley and Goddard both have to start off prepared to block, and now you've taken them out of the play. Like, there's things you can scheme out, like, to get those guys to not kill you as much. Both of those guys still made plays, but you're able to limit them in a way you couldn't if they were wide receivers. So because of that, I mean, I think that it matters. I think getting healthy will make a world of difference for them. The defensive performance was not very good here, and Jalen Hurts needs to play better. Maybe I'm just not willing to let something go. I think people will give me some criticism for putting them in this tier, but I don't know. I mean, like, you look at Washington. Washington has massive issues defensively too, right? They have a unit that's working really well right now, which is why they're in this thing. There's kind of holes you could look at for all of these teams in playoffs for sure, except for even the Texans have had a bad blowout, right? So, that's where I'm going to keep them. You could definitely talk me into knocking them down a tier, though. The Steelers are next up on this list. What a weird game, because the Colts got up big, and part of it was a couple bad fumbles. Obviously Pickens had that one really weird fumble where he was at the sideline and he didn't just fumble it, but he fumbled it like towards the middle of the field, which allowed for it to be recovered. And then Fields kind of fumbled on himself after running 20 yards backwards. That wasn't a good play by him, but other than that, they kind of got down. And this sort of, hey, our offense isn't going to lose us the game. There is an issue with that, because when you get down, then, like, your offense needs to win you the game. You have to, at a certain point, put up enough points for your defense to be able to hang on. And then all of a sudden, they said, okay, well, we got to start throwing the ball. I thought Fields looked really good once they did that. I thought he was great, in fact, after he fumbled, which was a bad play. I thought he looked great in that situation. The defense is still very good. Yes, this was maybe a disappointing loss if you're a Steelers fan. I wouldn't freak out too much. I think this is still a good football team. I think that, I'm in between still good in playoffs for sure, because, like, they are always going to be so well coached. They feel like a playoff team. To me, it is putting them a tier above the team that just beat them in the Colts, but, that's how it works sometimes. So, sure, let's make Steelers fans happy, I suppose. Playoffs for sure. Let's move on to the Broncos, who I think I'm still going to put in scrappy. I know they've had some impressive performances these past couple weeks, but, really good job against Tampa Bay. I do wonder how much of that was a coaching mismatch. Sean Payton does have Todd Bowles' number. I think the stat is he's like 9-1 against Todd Bowles all time. So, like, there is something to that. But still, it was an impressive win, even that considered, right? And then they were able to beat the Jets, but it was kind of a bad weather game, but still an impressive win, all things considered. This defense is legit. I still have some concerns about this offense and how much firepower it can really have, but a good defense can get you some places. But I do think as a whole, they're going to have to start scoring more than 10 points, right? Against Tampa Bay, they were able to have a good offensive day. They need to string together more of those, in my opinion. The Packers are next up on this list, who, I did not think Jordan Love played particularly good in this one. And this is another game where their defense kind of struggled. They've had good games in the past. This was not one of them. The Vikings have been doing this to everyone. In fact, this was almost a quality loss, keeping this game competitive at the end there. But even that, I thought Minnesota made some mistakes that allowed Green Bay to get back into it just as much as Green Bay made the plays. And Green Bay did make some plays. You got to give them credit for those. But as of right now, I mean, I don't know. They're not playing like a I don't, it's weird, because they were really good with Malik Willis. We're like, okay, here we go. They're somehow 2-0 with Malik Willis, 0-2 with Jordan Love. So is it too harsh to put them into still good tier? I don't think it is. I need Jordan Love to play better. That's just what it is. He has to play better. He has to stop just, going all, bombing down the field. This was a Jameis Winston type day where some of these plays are working and it looks great, but then you're turning the ball over too much. So these missed throws are hurting them. Jordan Love has played a lot better than this in the past. I'm expecting him to get back to that form. Again, good defense, context matters. All that context has to come in, coming off an injury for sure. He still has to play better, and I think he will. The Panthers, it was a fun week with them, with the Andy Dalton stuff. I'm still going to put them in the bad tier. This defense hasn't been great. Actually kind of been disappointing defensively this season. Andy Dalton does some nice things. This offense looks competent. This team looks competent. They're going to win more than the one game they have already on their record. Like, they're going to win more games. I don't know how much more, though. So that's where I have them. The Cardinals were a disappointing team. I put them in the playoffs for sure tier earlier this year, but this offense is just too inconsistent. And Kyler Murray, not to make it all about the quarterback, but Kyler Murray is someone who, people will say, like, this guy is an elite level quarterback. He's the top tier guy. But I feel like that's because you only watch the good games. And when he is good, he is an elite level guy. You think, how is this guy not winning MVPs of what he can do? The issue is consistency for him. Since he got injured, he's had the 3 great games, and he's had some not so good games. That's just how it's been. And again, it's not all on the quarterback. There's other things offensively to talk about and why this was an underwhelming day for them. I still don't love this defense, though. So, yeah, I think I'm going to drop them all the way down to scrappy. They're 1-3 at this point and having a really bad loss. That's where I'm going to put them. The Bills are next up on this list. I still think this is a Super Bowl contender. So 6 Super Bowl contenders. Spoiler alert, Seattle and the Patriots are not there. But, this was a disappointing loss to the Ravens. But the Ravens are a very unique team with how they run the ball. They can kind of get good teams, right, because of the fact that they do, play differently than basically everyone else. The one concern I have with the Bills is we did kind of see the Baltimore Ravens be able to man up against these Bills receivers, which was a concern we had going into the year. Can these Bills receivers without Stephon Diggs hold up? Keon Coleman made some plays, Dalton Kincaid made some plays, Khalil Shakir made some plays, but it wasn't quite enough in this one. And then the trick play was a disaster. If that doesn't happen, it's a 1-score game in the third quarter. Who knows what happens? But because of that, I still think they're Super Bowl contenders. They're still, the defense has played great through 3 weeks, had a bad week. Josh Allen has played great through 3 weeks, had a bad week against a good team that I also have in Super Bowl contenders tier. I'll keep them here for now. But another loss like that, you could get yourself getting taken out of there. The Seahawks are next up on this list. Again, didn't play, so I think I had them in playoffs for sure last week, so keeping them there. And then the Patriots are not a very good football team. They're in the bad tier. Again, the offense just doesn't work at all. They can't really throw the ball, can't really run the ball haven't run the ball that well either. They can't block, and they can't throw or catch. I like Ramondre Stevenson, but at a certain point, you're going to have to just see what you have in Drake May, because it is kind of a lost season, but not quite yet. Yeah, I think you keep losing some games here for now. Good draft pick, though. So you got that going for you. Bounce back by their defense, but still wasn't enough. So, yeah, those are my tiers. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this tier list? Thanks for making it to the end. I appreciate it. If you like watching movies, check out my movie channel. It's in the link is in the description below, Jackson Kruger Movies, so check that out. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.